Hey guys, Happy New Year.
Yo, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year,
sir.
Cool. We didn't
Happy
see
New Year, sir.
many of you guys in the community call last week, but I just wanted to be sure that we didn't miss anybody from last week after the New Year.
Yeah, you can never be too safe with that. You can never be too safe with that. You may as well. You only get to say it once a year anyway, so you may as well get it out. Yeah. Well, Raghav was just asking about the call, and so was Nupur. Oh, there he is.
All right. Here's the meeting minutes. I hope you guys have access to it. Let me know if you guys don't have access to it. So let's start filling stuff in.
And we've got your personal to-do list right inside the notes, so this is good.
Cool. He won what? Oh, he won the award. Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay, do you want to get started, guys? Let's start with one.
Who's taking the plunge? And Raghav, actually, since nobody's jumping in, I'm gonna call out Raghav and say, man, just what a great effort you've given the last couple of weeks. Some of the UI oriented efforts are always a challenge because, well, I think frankly just because UI, JavaScript, and CSS are so finicky.
Yeah.
But just on that, actually, I had a quick piece of feedback for you. The one of the number of issues that you're working through. Are you guys able to see my screen, by the way? I assume everybody can, right? And
Yes, we can.
okay, it's funny because now I'm totally jumping in and stepping over Karish's agenda. I apologize. I just want to make sure I answered one of Raghav's questions. Raghav, I think it was on a PR.
Yeah, I share you with the link once again.
Okay. Oh, boy. I'm looking at issues, not PRs. That's why. So very good. So some of the changes that you've got forthcoming, Raghav, will enhance the footer on the docs. Another one will enhance the user experience inside of Meshery around the color of the icons, the logos. And so this latest PR that you have not only normalizes all of the logos in the menu, but also provides kind of a nice colorized experience ongoing in the other area of the application. So that looks great. I was saying, hey, we've got some of those footer changes incorporated here. The challenge with if we accept these here, I don't think that they include all of your updates in your other PR. So until if we land this PR, it'll be a skewed sum. It'll be some of those bugs will be there up until the other PR lands. And so
Okay.
ideally we would just make a clean cut between this one having to do with just the icons, just the logos, and the other one having to do just with in this one as well. There are a couple of looks like errant files. So there's one here. It's a D, and there was
Yeah, fine.
okay, cool. Okay, anyway, I just figured it was easier to verbally walk through
Yeah.
it than
Yeah.
cool. I'm gonna be quiet now, Greesh. Back to you. And Garish, you're on mute in case you're speaking.
So did that discussion come to an end?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed the last part.
No, we're good. I think Raghav is this close to landing the colorized icon.
Yes, it's end.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Does anybody want to speak up? Want to start alphabetically? Start with Anand, or go the other way around, or mix and match?
Yeah, sure, sir. I can start with it.
Cool, man.
Okay, so
one request, guys. So when you're talking, I think it'll be better if you can actually bring up your issue. Talk about it. Talk about any issues you're facing, the blockers. If we can go that way, it'll be much better, because everybody will have some context on what you guys are working on.
yeah, sure. That's what I was going to ask. Okay, so I'm starting to share my screen. I hope it's visible.
Awesome.
There are actually three issues that I'm working on. One of them is not mentioned. For the starting, I'm working on the Meshery init removal as a internal command. Internal command. So I'm facing one problem that if I bring up the code, just a second, let me bring up the code.
Sounds good.
So for now, what init command does is it gives execution permission to the binary of Docker Compose. If there is no error, then it shows that the Docker Compose is installed. Otherwise, it says it is not installed. So if we move it from init command to start command as an internal function, that will check every time if it's not there or not, then it will show all those print statement like no, it won't show any thing if it's already there, but it will show that if it's not there, then it will try to download and store. The same problem that we have now for update command. Like for Linux, it will require the sudo access. So we will require every time sudo access of start, we have to use sudo in start while it's working. The other thing is that we can remove this from this command to a different command so that it won't require sudo access to check if there is the Docker Compose binary available or not. So I think I made my point clear. If it's not, then I can try it again to explain it.
Makes sense to me. One thing I didn't necessarily gather was you're doing what you can to eliminate the need for Meshery CTL to have root access or to require sudo access. To the extent that we haven't totally eliminated that need, in the instances where we need to elevate privilege, do we have a mechanism to prompt the user for their sudo password?
No, actually not yet.
And remind me again,
Uh,
which instance, or what use case do we still require sudo? That's to displace the Meshery CTL binary.
yeah, to displace the Meshery CTL binary, we will require the sudo access on Linux system, specifically on Linux system. On Mac, as the directory /usr local bin is already writable from the current user or the user that they are present, so it won't be a problem from them. But in Linux, it is by default root under root privileges, so only root can access. And the other need for sudo in this situation is that every time when we will do Messenger CTL start, it will first check the it will run the commands chmod plus x, then do docker compose binary location. If so, it shows an error, because in Linux, every time if it when we do chmod, then it will ask for sudo access because it is already present on that directory, which requires sudo access /usr local bin. That is a problem.
Okay. So usually there are, I mean, like, this is a great start, great direction, like, to get the software updated. But many softwares out there, like, they stop doing this because, they already are providing means for updating the software using Brew or, some other package manager. The reason is the update process, like, I mean, whatever we do, like, is definitely error prone, because what's going to happen is, like, when you're updating your executable, if something gets messed up, like, the whole thing is going to be gone. Plus, it doesn't provide you a way to roll back, go to a specific version, etc. So I don't know. It's like maybe we should just stick to Brew for upgrading, because anyways, when they are running Brew upgrade, like, so they probably have root privileges or they have the right permissions to do so. Just a food for thought.
Actually, I was thinking about the Docker Compose in it. The message CTL can be upgraded with Brew, but what
Oh,
about the
I'm
Docker
sorry. I'm sorry.
Compose?
When you were talking about the pseudo requirement, like, I thought, okay, you switch topics to the upgrading. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No. Okay, so this is a problem that I am facing from now, right now. For now, I am thinking about, like, we can remove this init command and we can do a check, and if the Docker Compose is not there, then we will tell the user that they can run this command and they can download this, and or we can just tell them that you can use the init command to download, or we can rename the init command as prerequisite check or like whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess boy, it's been a long time now. Remind me of the. Okay, we're looking at init right here, right? And init was we have it exposed externally for users to call, but we're looking to hide it as an internal function. But remind me again, the functionality that init has is to right now. Does it only check for Docker and Docker Compose?
Actually, I was not able to hear you. Your voice was.
Oh yeah. Does right now? So we want to hide init from users.
Okay.
And well, let me step back and say. So for context for others, and just as a reminder to me, we're trying to bring a really good user experience to people who are trying to learn service meshes and run service meshes. We expect that people will be drawn to Meshery because it will have a fantastic user experience, kind of like Docker did for containers. And so as such, when people go to interface with Meshery for the first time, their machine may not have all the prerequisites needed to run Meshery, which happens with a lot of software. We're trying to delight people and surprise them by taking care of some of those prerequisites for them, making it easy for them. By the way, if you want to see a good example of a project that does well in this regard, check out linkerd. Use the linkerd command and you'll see they will automatically run a pre-flight check. They'll check on a bunch of things. They'll tell you about it. It's pretty neat. They're doing a really good job taking care of the rounding off the rough edges, which is frankly where they are beating up Istio. Istio is a much larger project. It has much more mind share, but people fall in love with linkerd because they take care of all these little annoyances and they have a great user experience. We're taking that same lesson and applying it in Meshery, and that's why we built Meshery CTL init to help with taking care of these prereqs. Two of the prereqs that we were finding were an initial issue was that people were trying to run Meshery on their local machine and they didn't have Docker installed. Docker is a prerequisite to running Meshery on your anywhere.
Yeah.
And they didn't have Docker.
Actually, for now we don't have the Docker. We only have Docker Compose.
Very good. And which makes a lot of sense in that Meshery also requires Docker Compose. For a user to have Docker Compose, implicitly they have Docker, or they have to have Docker. So if we focus on Docker Compose, I think we're kind of good in this regard. So we had written into it. Yeah. So while we're talking, by the way, guys, everyone should be. If you got something to talk about today, you should be updating the meeting minutes and kind of prepping your presentation. We're in the init. We're trying to take care of identifying whether or not give them a good user experience by checking to see whether or not prerequisites are met. To the extent that they aren't, we were trying to help facilitate the installation of, in this case, Docker Compose. And so Anand, what we're looking at here is literally us figuring out what type of architecture they're running on, Linux, Mac, Windows, that type of thing. And then going out and trying to download the Docker Compose binary on their behalf and doing an installation. If we can't, we tell them that we couldn't install it and that they need to. And so in my mind, there's a couple things that we need to do. One is that we either need to your point, change the word init to pre-flight check or something like that, prereq check.
Yeah.
Or no, I think that's right. I think that we do need a prereq check.
Actually, what I was thinking, like when we do Meshery CTL start, when the new user will do Meshery CTL start, and we will first check that there is Docker Compose installed or not. Is there Docker Compose or not. If there is not present, then we will show them this command that you can run meshctl prerequisite check or prerequisite to install the prerequisite softwares that are required for Meshery to start. Meshery to start up.
Totally. Yeah, I think that you took the words out of my mouth. That this function right now it's called init, but that it would be used primarily in two ways. One way is when someone runs Meshery CTL start, which is exactly what we tell everyone to do when they're going to run it on their local machine. That implicitly, this function Meshery CTL init is called as part of that process because it should do a pre-flight check before it tries to run. And that to the extent that we design it in such a way that end users should call it as well, great. And we should probably name it something else. Yeah. I think that's what you said, right?
Okay. Then okay. I think that's sorted out for now. And let's go to the another issue. The another issue that I'm working on is that Meshery upgrade to upgrade Meshery itself. So on this one, I have almost completed. Like Girish has requested me to do a small change to use the dedicated function for unzipping the file. So on that, I don't have any doubts, and I can work on it, and maybe I can complete it by today.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, Anand.
And then
And the third thing that I was working on, that MSCTL's test. So I've started building on that command. And it's just on initial phase.
Sorry, Meshery CTL test. Is that what you were saying, Anand?
Yeah, actually, I guess I spelled it right. Yeah, actually, in the documentation of where does it go? Actually, Lee told me when we had a last talk. Then he told me that there is another command that we are going to add named test with number of flags. So I think that's
Gotcha. That's for running the performance test from the CLI. Gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. All right. That's great. We should definitely though come back to this updating thing, like because I saw your code. Your code is doing a great job of trying to download the new version and trying to get it swapped, which is great. But then we definitely have some fallback cases which we'll have to address, which is going to be hard to actually implement in the code. Rather leave it to a third-party system like a package manager. So we'll come back to that given the time. Let's switch to the next person. Thanks a lot, Anand. Shubham, or anybody else, who else is ready?
Sorry, you called me. I didn't
Yeah,
hear.
yeah, cool. Shubham, I saw your updates. Fantastic. Do you have anything else to add to it? So I see you're working on the issue 390 and are still working on the Istio workshop.
Actually, yes, I'm still working on issue number 390, and in labs, I face many problems in troubleshooting. So it's taking time, but I will try to finish the lab as soon as I'm possible.
Gotcha.
So I'm trying my best.
Sounds good. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions, I can try to help you unblock. Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
yeah, the
awesome.
issue 390 may or may not make for a good issue to speak about. I guess Raghav, to the extent that if you're working on the counterpart to 390, I think you're working on the Grafana connectivity tests, and Shubham is working on the Prometheus connectivity tests.
Yeah, we have split our work, so we will not face any issue regarding that.
Oh, nice, beautiful. But and I bring it up mostly to say you guys should exchange notes to the extent that you can, because much of what you're trying to do is very similar.
Yeah, Raghav asked me some issue like Cube ECTL is not working on his system, but that problem I didn't face, so I don't know how I can solve that. And I searched the same issue in GitHub, and the similar issue is still open. So I didn't find the solution of that issue that Cube ECTL is not working. In lab one only, there is a command using a lab ECTL something which is not working in your Raghav system. So I don't know why.
Yeah, I'll talk to when I have the chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe that's just a good transition point to over to you, Raghav, and we'll,
Okay. Fine. So basically, let me share my screen first. So you can share my see my screen, right?
right.
So I downloaded the issue from using this, and then I'll verify that issue CTL is there on my system or not. So here it is. Okay.
So by the way,
Here it is.
that verify install command, the Istio
Yeah.
team took heavy inspiration from the linkerd command that I was talking about before. They're directly trying to copy it. So
Okay. So after verifying the Istio CTL, here I installed Istio using this command. But it is showing this error that I'm getting again and again.
can you drag out the width of your terminal just to make that slightly easier to read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, thanks.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. So I think so what this is saying is I think you already have those custom resource definitions deployed. And so
Okay.
you're probably okay. And a way to confirm that is to run kubectl get. Actually, I think you can run kubectl get CRDs. I think.
Okay. Is this
Yeah.
what should it?
Well, this is there are Istio specific CRDs there. The reason
Yeah, it's there in the folder. I saw it somewhere. So
yeah. So I think you're good. The only reason I'm hesitant is because there was such a change from Istio 1.2 to 1.4 now. There used to be almost 60 something CRDs, and I think they significantly reduced the number of those. So when you do kubectl get CRDs, you're only seeing like 12 Istio CRDs,
okay.
which must be accurate, which must be anyway, to the extent that you're running a kubectl command and you're retrieving Istio specific CRDs, that does mean that installation step was successful. That means that your Kubernetes cluster now is capable of representing Istio specific objects in a Kubernetes native way. So if you were to say something like kubectl get adapters, that's
Okay.
like the first thing on the first CRD that comes back. kubectl get adapters. Those are in fact Istio adapters. Since you haven't, I don't think you've completely installed Istio yet, so you may not. There may not be any. Anyway, the point
Okay.
is, you've installed some Istio CRDs and you're able to interact with them through Cube API, through kubectl. So that step is good. I think you're good to go on that step.
Fine.
Later,
So, but
as you progress forth there, actually that specific command, kubectl get adapters, it will be a potential point of interest to you as you're working on Grafana. At some point, Garish, he should certainly see the Prometheus adapter. I don't know that he'll see a Grafana adapter.
if I do this kubectl get adapters, here it comes, no resources found. So right now there is not any connectivity from my issue, right?
The term adapters is slightly overloaded, but yeah, I don't think that your Istio is completely deployed. If you do kubectl get services
Yes.
-n for namespace, and then you
N.
say Istio system, Istio -system. That's the control plane. That's the namespace where the Istio control plane gets deployed. So Istio itself, all of its pods and services and things, you have yet to be deployed. So once Istio is fully deployed to your Kubernetes cluster, then you should get a list of adapters.
Okay. So basically, I have to deploy my issue on the minikube thing that I'm deploying my Kubernetes on.
Exactly.
Okay. Makes sense. Cool then. For the two issues, so one issue is that you have mentioned my problem, the changing files. One issue I was talking with Girish. So I don't know what tooltip is there. I mean, I have done the. Let me show you. So here in the footer thing, I changed the code according to this, but I don't know what Girish meant by this thing.
Hey Raghav. The point I was trying to make was that earlier the footer, I remember seeing tooltips. Like so, when you hover over them, like you would see like tooltips popping up, would say which kind of were saying what those were. Maybe I yeah, maybe I might have missed something, but I'm just saying that I vaguely remember seeing them earlier. So I was just trying to tell you that hey, if you can maybe just check if those were there, and if they were there, see if you can get it back to working is kind of what I meant. Yeah.
Fine, I'll do it in 5 minutes. It's there. Fine.
Awesome, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool, Raghav.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Let's move on to the next person. Nikhil, Ashish, any of you want to go?
Yes, sir. Sure. So currently, I was working on the issue of 529 that was hiding the adapter, read-only adapter field in the adapter pages. This one. So I recently, 2 days ago, I made a PR for that, and hopefully the issue is solved. Just waiting for the final confirmation. Other than that, the other issue, there was some new issue assigned to me by Lisa regarding the breaking of the page in layer 5. So for that, there is some issue with the main tower command. In my system or in general, that I don't know. Still yet to find. So soon I will fix work on that one when my Docker command is ready to work. After that, I am working on D3 and Cytoscape. So just for the starting, I've made this code where there is two nodes A and B, and where the B is a target node, and this is a triangle just used to assign the way or the method to show that B is a target node using a triangle in which we can change the size and the color of the nodes and this what should I say? It's arrow, yeah. And then we further after increasing the code after increasing the services, when we click on this nodes, we'll be able to see the backend purpose that we are going to use in our mission. This is the Cytoscape part that I'm learning currently. And further on part of D3, this is something new that I've learned. This is a scatter plot that shows the GDP of the country and the life expectancy as it is increasing from the year 1800 till 2019. The graph changes as per the data assigned in a JSON file, depending upon the and the area of the circle or the radius of the circle changes as per the population changes over the year. This is defined using a scatter plot, and the different color of the circles show the different continents that are represented on the graph.
Now, Nikhil, that's exciting, man. The cytoscale one is particularly exciting. You know, unless you hear different from Garish, I would say set aside D3 for the moment. Focus entirely on cytoscape. And the example that you're going through here is exactly the type of visual interaction that we're looking for people to have. Couple questions. One, can you show the JSON? I'm assuming it's some array of arrays or some data structure that's in JSON that you're providing
for the D3 file.
Well, or
for the scatter plot.
Yeah, for the cytoscape.
No, sir. Actually for this one there is no data file. It is just two nodes. One is the target.
Oh.
This one is done using D3.
Okay.
This is using a JSON file.
Got it.
Just a second. I'm sharing that file. So this is the JSON file that I'm using for that scatter plot.
Okay, you know what? Actually, skip the D3 stuff. Let's just go straight over to the cytoscape.
Okay. For the cytoscape part, yeah. This is the cytoscape's code that I am running on my browser. This is a simple HTML file in which it's using the cytoscape.js as a library provided to it using a CDN.
Nice.
And here's the variable that is storing the cytoscape array or the element that we are using.
Awesome.
There are two nodes.
Oh my gosh.
One is A, another is B, and here we are assigning an edge from A to B, where we are assigning the target that is used. We change the target from B to A.
Yep. So
Then
that's awesome.
Change.
This I'm so excited about this. This because it looks like just the initial extraordinarily simple example that you're using is easily digestible, and it looks like we can have we can do something relatively quickly, which is great. I think I don't know if Garish, keep me honest here. If the ask I think is that for the first small use case for you to Nikhil to bite off with Cytoscape is to leverage the Meshery REST API for invoking a performance test. It expects just a handful of parameters. It's the same area that Anand is working on building out Meshery CTL test. That Meshery CTL test will use the same REST API for invoking a performance test. Yeah, and I think, or no, that Nikhil, if you could, what would be really impressive to see on the community call or earlier if you have it is the invocation or the running. Yeah, it's really the invocation of a performance test from the Cytoscape UI. So between node A and B, if conceptually, if B is an endpoint, a URL, like the book info endpoint or any HTTP endpoint, and A is Meshery, conceptually, just sort of visually and conceptually, that Meshery is A, it has a load generator, B is the endpoint that you want to Meshery to generate and push load up against, that from the Cytoscape UI, you would do something like click on B, have a small menu that comes up to say, to basically let someone invoke a performance test. They just basically say start test or something like that. And what you would then do is make a REST call from Cytoscape to Meshery, invoking a performance test.
Okay, that seems to be a bit of tricky and a tough one, but I will try and do it as soon as possible.
Okay, cool. I'm excited, very excited, very cool.
Sure, sir. I will do it as soon as possible.
So for Nikhil, the simple, yeah, of course, so we definitely have a lot of use cases for this, the Cytoscape and the graphing libraries. But the first ask, which I've asked Nikhil is actually to get this example working using the React library they have. It's called the React Cytoscape. Use that with this same example, and then bring it into Meshery and see if we can first show it in the Meshery UI in one of the pages. So once we get there, then interacting with the REST APIs will actually be much easier, and then we can actually interact with more REST APIs, get more dynamic data from the APIs, render some dynamic charts, and then we can actually invoke other APIs for running tests, etc. So we are definitely not there, but definitely Nikhil, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to make these steps so that we will get there in the near future.
Yeah, sure. So I will. I saw that GitHub link that you shared with me for the React component. I will soon be making a new component file .js file to upload that on Mesh.
Awesome.
This week I was busy with this issue, and finally up with it. So now I will totally focus on Cytoscape.
Awesome, dude.
Thank
you. All right. Who's next? Ashish? Ganjan?
Hello, sir.
Hey, Ganjan, how are you?
Sir, I'm good. And you?
Hi, not too bad, not too bad. Let's jump right in.
Sir, actually, I'm right now I'm working on Helm chart, and I'm trying to solve those linked errors in Meshery HTO. The static check, security check, all those errors. So right now I'm focusing on these two issues. So basically, I'm focusing on Helm chart. I've already completed two file, that is values.yml and chart.ml. So I've already completed this two files. So I have one doubt here. So there's a thing that is tag. So I'm not getting what should be there in the tag option.
Tag option. Can you share your screen? I think that'll be much faster.
Yeah. So here is an option that is tag. So I'm not getting what should be here in this place.
Tag. Can you try latest?
Sorry, sir. Can you
Latest. LATEST.
latest? Okay.
Yeah. See if you can give this a try.
Okay, sir. So in this file, I have this particular issue. So, and I'm trying to do this deployment and this in Grace file, but I need time for this two file. I'm not getting the whole thing. So
Gotcha. No, this is definitely a good start. Yeah, for sure.
yes, sir. And my one more issue, that is the this file that is in Istio repo. This is the those error check and static check. So I'm trying to solve all those issues, all those errors. So
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, that's definitely a good thing. So, I mean, I think I had commented on your PR. So,
Yes,
so you're
sir.
working based. Okay, awesome. Okay, sounds good. Do you have any
Yes, sir.
questions regarding that?
So sir, I need some hints to do some further. So
Gotcha. You know what? Can you ping me on Slack and let's take the discussion offline? I can, and then we can go from there.
yes, sir, sure.
Awesome, dude. Cool.
So that's all, sir.
All right. Okay, let's jump to Ashish.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Ashish. I know you have quite a bit of things to talk about. That's awesome. So do you want to share your screen and go? Talk about the issues you're facing, or let's just focus on the things you want to discuss, because we only
Okay,
have
sir.
like 10 minutes.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely go over the time, but we just want to be respectful of your time.
Okay, sir. Mm, yeah. Mm, so, mm, mm. So is my screen visible?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, sir. Regarding the issues which I have fixed, that I have already mentioned in the docs page, means the development meeting page, which are the issues which I have completed. And so one of the problem which I am facing with the adapter, which is in a repo which is named as a layer 5 istio adapter repo. So 2 weeks back, I fixed some issue where I need to add some issue template in that particular repo. But after fixing that particular issue and then pushing it into that repo, after we need to go and compare the changes out there. But when I went to that particular repo and tried to compare the changes and add it into the repo, there was an error occurring. Like, so it was showing. Yeah, so this is showing to me that compare changes, and it is showing there is not anything to compare.
That's interesting. In your repo, are you targeting the right branch?
Yes, sir. I also addressed this particular issue to Lisa. So Lisa told me to. Uh, he said me that you need to particularly again refork that particular repo, and then again try to fix that particular issue. But after again cloning that particular repo and again creating a new branch and trying to fix that particular issue, again I pushed it into the master branch. But when I went to that GitHub page to compare and pull changes, it was showing again the same issue only.
Interesting. All right.
And
Ashish, you know what? Let's take this offline as well. Or maybe after towards the end of the call, after we are done with the Nupur, we can probably come back and investigate what's going on here.
okay, sir. Sir, I have one more issue.
Sure.
Sir, there was an task assigned by Lisa today only, where we need to add, sir, CII best practices we need to follow in Layer 5 project as well. So, sir, as of now, we have 98%. So, sir, do we need to implement this? Sir, do we need to fix this? Where it is, so do we need to fix this particular point which is having a cross sign, means it is not properly passing, or also there was something mentioned out there. Yeah. Where it is. Yeah, this one. So we need to either fix that particular error which is occurring in our project, or also at the simultaneously we need to implement this step also.
I'm not understanding the
Yep.
question.
So,
I'm really
so
sorry.
no, no, no. So,
So you tried.
I think it's.
Yeah.
I'll take this one. So, Ashish, for us to for us to knock out the remaining 2% and achieve the passing level for this
Yeah.
best practices badge, that remaining item, the test policies, is highlighting that we've yet to mature as a project to a point wherein when each of you are contributing functionality, that you are also writing test cases, and we've not been enforcing that upon everyone because it's hard enough for everyone just to kind of grasp the project, go and start. And it feels really good when your PR emerges and when your functionality works. But at some point, we have to come back and begin to ensure that everyone is also writing test cases for what they're doing, and that those test cases are being executed every build, just like static checks and error checks and other things.
Yes, sir.
And so that particular one, that last 2% is something that Garish is going to go handle, and then we'll achieve that passing level. But then going forward, at some point we'll come back and we'll be talking with you guys about test cases in Go and potentially in React, and making sure that we're adhering to the best practice pervasively. So thanks for jumping in there. I probably was excited that we were as close as we were, and I just announced in Slack that oh, we're almost there, and this is good, and here's some details to it. And I appreciate you trying to pick up that last 2%. In this case, I don't know that you'll, I think Garish has to go knock that out.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Speaking of badges, there is a badge issue that we have where we've got.
So regarding that Slack, that it was not dynamic.
Totally, that's the one.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, it is fixed by me, sir. Yeah, I totally fixed it. Also, sir, there was this badge issue in Meshery Octarine also. The badge was not dynamic, so that is also fixed.
Awesome. So, Ashish, after we may want to talk about something to sync your meat hooks into. I mean, something a little. I think you might be ready for something a little bigger, and so
Yeah, yeah.
so let's do some brainstorming in the Meshery channel itself.
Okay, sir.
And you were fast and furious on the issues this week, man. I love it. I could hardly keep up.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, Nooper. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Do you want to talk about your status updates?
Yeah. So, last last time when we talked, Lisa assigned me a task that was static error check of Go code. That is to update the ci.yml file for that. So for that, I had to go through that how actions in GitHub work. So I read about it and how to create a custom action. I read about that. Then what I had to do with this file, I went through it and saw that there was already the code for error check was present. So I just had to uncommand it. So I talked to you on that error link only. And then you said that you have to uncommand it obviously and then go for the errors which will arrive later on. So the part where you said that you have to go through the errors which will come after that, I was not sure what exactly that meant. So if you could explain me that.
Gotcha. So I mean, what the CA process does is, it's going to be running, a bunch of tests on the code that's already written. So now these checks which have been commented out are actually some new checks which we have not run before. So what's going to happen is when you uncomment, for example, if you uncomment the first section, it's going to actually fail because what's going to happen is in the code that execution is going to show some errors in the code. It's going to say, hey, this is not properly following the convention. The name should be like this, or an error should be handled. It'll start popping up some new errors. So the task we'll have to go through next is actually to look in the code, see how we can fix it, get it fixed, and you see the point, right? So we take it piece by piece. Each commented block is going to actually introduce some more. It's going to show up errors in the CI process. Because what's going to happen is it's going to run some more additional tests on the code and then surface the errors. So now our task would be to again go behind those errors, fix them, getting the code updated so that when these checks run against the code, there are no more errors to actually follow. And then we go on to the next section. So there are probably 4 checks which are commented out right now, I think. So we'll have to go one after another so that we don't overwhelm ourselves. Did that make sense, Nupur?
Okay, I got bits of it and I understand a few parts of it. So I will try what exactly it works. So before that, how do I try? I was trying to run Meshery in my system. So as I was taking this issue offline with you, because I was facing some issues on running this on my machine, and I think after running it on my machine, then only I can see that how this action is exactly working. Am I right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you know what? We already have started chatting in Slack. Well, let's continue, and I'll definitely do my best to actually help you get started with everything so that you can start jumping right into the issues and start working on them.
Yeah, because currently I was not able to work on it because it's not installed in my machine. So as soon as I finish installing it or running it my machine, I'll definitely see what errors how exactly this is working practically.
Gotcha. No, that's perfect actually. Yeah, cool. So hopefully in the very probably later today or tomorrow, you have everything ready to go, and then you can start working on the issues.
Yeah, I hope the same. Thank you.
Gotcha. Cool. Did we leave out anybody? Shubham, Raghav, Mukur, Nikhil, Ganjan, Ashish, Anand. I think we covered everybody here. Do you guys have anything else to discuss, guys? All right.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah, sir. There was one issue regarding that adding layer file logo on the Istio.io website, sir. So, sir,
Oh,
it is
right,
also
right.
yeah, yeah. So, sir, it is also in the last stage, sir. There means there was some lint failures which was occurring. So that is also fixed by me. But sir, there is one updation. Means the maintainer of that particular project is saying me to means shorten that particular means description which I have written for the Meshery project, layer 5 project. It is quite big, so he said me to shorten that particular statement, and then he will accept that PR.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely great news.
That really is great news. Yeah.
So that was issue number 6184.
Nice. Okay, I'll go take a look. Ashish, maybe I'll take that action item to give you a shorter description that you can use. Which makes sense, because I think if you look at the Istio.io, so by the way, I think this is a point of pride, maybe, hopefully, point of pride for all of you on the call, that Istio is one of many service meshes, but certainly a very popular one. Of the list of partners under their community area, that Ashish is helping ensure that layer 5 is represented. And as and when he
Yes,
does,
sir.
I think what they're looking for is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Is about a
Yeah.
4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 words or less, maybe. So anyway, I'll work with you on that right now. I'll get you a statement. But that's awesome, because you guys will be able to show that the efforts that you're giving are now officially affiliated. And if you don't know, which I know many of you do, if you don't know, the Service Mesh interface is another project by Microsoft. They have a list of partners, and many of you will recognize this. Some of you won't, because this is the old Meshery logo. So very shortly, we will have the Layer 5 logo up and represented here as well. Since we're on logos, and since hopefully all of you are taking pride in these things, layer 5, I think Garish announced this a little bit ago, but layer 5 is a member of the CNCF now. So the layer 5 logo is up on the CNCF site. And actually, it should be a point of pride for a bunch of reasons. One is because many of you helped design the logos and gave a lot of feedback on them. And many of you are now familiar with just how indecisive I can be. But we're there, so that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. I still have some action items, by the way, on my side from a couple of our meetings. So I am working on a contribution ladder, or a contributors ladder, meaning what does it mean to be a user, a contributor, a reviewer, a triager, a maintainer, an admin, whatever. What does it mean to be an ambassador, a community manager, all of these things. I also make this call. Yeah, no kidding, Nupur. I'll also make this call out that you guys have no idea actually how frequently the work that's being done on layer 5 is being referenced. It's being referenced a lot. I know I sent over Forrester's formal research paper where they included Meshery, and actually they updated their research paper based on Meshery quite a bit, which was pretty awesome considering the other products, the other projects and companies that were listed in that paper, and Meshery being on par with them. Really cool. If you guys don't have it, ping me. I will send it to you. One of them is already available in the community drive. I don't think I put the other one out there, but there's one other point I was going to make about how it is that. Oh, so I want to. I don't know. I want to make sure that each of you understand that this is open to you, and something it's a bit of a different motion, but many of you are active on Twitter and understand that. So is the Layer 5 account, and so is the Meshery account, but it's not as active as it could be. And this is something that you guys can help with. Not only are you already, many of you are already helping with being active there, talking about Meshery, liking things, retweeting things. Some of you get called out. And Nipur, this is you for sure, right? Okay, good. Oh, look at that. Nipur is already being followed by Network Service Mesh. That's awesome. They're very friendly to us. They're very a good partner for us. So the reason I bring this up is to just encourage you to continue to do more of the same. And actually, if any of you are wanting to get into this in a much bigger way, let's talk about how you might be able to go behind the scenes on the Meshery account and help potentially tweet some things out or talk about some things. That could potentially be true of the Layer 5 account as well. Because we're just not as active as we need to be. So, all right, we're way over time. This is awesome.
Just a small issue to reference. On the GitHub page, the link is broken for the releases page in the Meshery.
Oh no. So in the main README, the link to this screenshot?
No, so the releases section in the upper part. Just a second. This one. This link.
Oh, the releases. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. I think we restructured a little bit. So I think
it should be changed to this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, this is an interesting point, is that the documentation, the more that gets added, the more that we will restructure the layout of the docs. So we'll do some information architecture, if you will. And so that means that links will get broken over time. And we can't always go back and update, or we won't be successful in going back and updating all of those other links, which is really bad. It's a bad experience. So one thing that I believe that we can use to our advantage is that within Jekyll uses Liquid and it uses Ruby, and anyway, that there's a front matter parameter called permalink that you can set to ensure that anytime someone goes to that link, that they land on that particular page. And my understanding is that you can have multiple permalinks. So that in many respects, that permalink ends up being like an alias to the page. So Nikhil, that actually would be a good thing to explore. If on the releases page, if you were to add a second permalink to the broken link, if that takes care of the issue, and if that is an easier way of fixing the issue than it is to go back to all of the releases and update.
Okay, sir. Got you. I will check on that.
Cool. Awesome. Man, this is a hell of a community call. I love this. I'm going to let everyone go. I think we've got some stuff to follow up on in Slack.
Awesome, guys. See you all on Friday.
Bye, everyone.
See you guys in a few days. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.